Hello and welcome to the Actual Tech Media EcoCast. My name is Jess and I am excited to be here with you all today. But before we jump into our content, I have some basic information that I want to cover with you. All right, let's kick off our day here today by taking a quick tour of your audience console. And we're going to start with the questions window. So if you haven't already said hi, there is a whole audience of cool humans out there, so reach out and give a wave to the other members of the Actual Tech Media community. Now, keep in mind that if you do have any technical issues today, a browser refresh is going to fix just about anything. But if those tech gremlins are clinging on today, no problem. Just throw a comment in the question section and our crew will be there to help. We also want this to be an informative webinar for you, so throughout today's EcoCast, we hope you'll get engaged and ask all your burning questions. Not only will we have team members responding to you over a live chat, we will also have a dedicated Q&A session at the end of our presentations. Now, if we don't get to your question during the live webinar today, don't worry, because the awesome experts that we have here with us will be following up after we wrap. All right, next up, there's going to be lots of cool aha moments on the EcoCast today. And if you want to share those with your community, we've made it nice and easy for you. You can use the Twitter button right there in your audience console, and the hashtag for today's EcoCast will be automatically added to your post. All right, our last stop on this guided tour, be sure to check out the handouts tab for some awesome resources and takeaways from our speakers here today. We have an info pack collection, solution briefs, white papers, data sheets, free trials, ebooks, upcoming webinars, and more. So many great resources, so be sure to go explore. Now, if that wasn't enough fun, we also have some exciting prizes that we'll be giving away throughout today's EcoCast. I'm going to tell you a bit more about those later on, but a few quick reminders for you all. First, you do need to be here live in attendance at the EcoCast in order to qualify to win a prize, and we will follow up with all of you after we wrap. Now, all winners must submit an IRS Form W-9 to Actual Tech Media, and all winners must meet the Actual Tech Media prize terms and conditions. Now, if you don't know what those full T's and C's are, that's fine. We've got the full thing for you. Just head on over to that handouts tab, click in, scroll down to the bottom, and you'll find them waiting for you there. Now, the absolute most important thing to remember is that we love getting all your insightful questions during these live webinars. In fact, we love it so much that we actually have a special additional prize for all you inquisitive folks out there. So in today's EcoCast, we will be giving away a prize for the best question asked in each of our live sessions. Now, the expert speakers and teams will review all questions asked after we wrap the webinar, which means that even if your question does not get read out in a live session, there is still a chance to win. If you are a lucky winner here today and you would like to donate the value of your prize, we have several wonderful organizations that we partner with. So let us know when we follow up about your big win, and we'll get that rolling for you. Again, we are so happy to have you all here with us live at the EcoCast today, and we want to keep that good feeling going, so let's connect on social media. Reach out and connect with Actual Tech Media on Twitter and on LinkedIn. We have lots of great content, and we always want to hear from you. Now, if you're looking for more awesome content and resources right after we wrap the EcoCast today, be sure to subscribe to the Actual Tech Media channel on YouTube. Another fun way to win a prize and, hey, grow this awesome community is to refer an industry friend or a coworker to the Actual Tech Media webinar series. Now, you'll find a link to do that right in your handouts tab, and you will also be automatically redirected at the end of the webinar. And both you and your coworker or friend could win a prize, and we hold those drawings every month. So be sure to refer a friend, because it could quite literally be a win-win situation. Next, we have a cool opportunity for all the decision makers out there to get connected with new and emerging tech and innovative vendors. Here's how it works. All you need to do is click on the link in your handouts tab, fill out a quick application, and the Actual Tech crew will then match you with some vendors that we think you should probably be chatting with based on your needs. There will also be fun opportunities that you get to choose to join in, like surveys, test runs, new solutions, extended demos, and so on. You'll get some chances to win extra prizes, you'll chat with great people, and you'll learn about the hottest new trends in tech. So be sure to apply, or hey, send that link to a decision maker on your team. Now, I want to take a quick minute here to remind you all about one of my favorite resources, and that is ransomware.org. You can find out everything you need to know about ransomware, how to prepare, prevent, and recover. This site is jam-packed with information, helpful tips, checklists, strategic approaches, case studies, everything you need in one place. So wherever you are in your ransomware preparedness journey, there is something for you at ransomware.org. Go check it out and start exploring. All right, I have one more exciting resource I have to tell you about today, and that is the Gorilla Guide Book Club. It's going to give you access to free enterprise IT books authored by top industry experts, so you can stay up to date on trending enterprise technology. And yes, these books will work on your Kindle, your mobile device, and as I said, they are completely free. You can download these awesome resources at gorilla.guide, and there's a link for you in that handouts tab as well. All right, well, we have covered a lot of important things already, and I don't know about you all, but I am excited to dive in. So let's get going.
I agree with you, Jess. Let's get going. Hey, everyone, and welcome to the Actual Tech Media EcoCast. Today's topic is rediscovering the pivotal role of storage in your AI aspirations. I want to start by saying a big thank you for joining us today. All of you attendees from all over the place. I see Jeffrey from Atlanta, Greg from Atlanta, John from Tennessee, Philip from Texas, Richard from Texas. Atlanta and Texas are representing today. Pete from Massachusetts, Louis from Texas, Lee from Wyoming, Ryan from Michigan, Eric from North Carolina, where I'm going to be in about a week. And so many more of you logging in from all over the place. It is great to see everyone. Thanks so much for being here with us today. Now, today you are going to be hearing from three true experts at Pure Storage about how AI impacts your storage. And given what's happening in the AI space these days, it is really hard to think of a more timely topic than that. Wouldn't you agree? So, I am Keith Ward. I'm one of the moderators here at Actual Tech, as you may know. And you have met Jess, and you are about to see Scott here in just another minute. And Mackenzie Pudici fills out our all-star roster that we call the Mod Squad here around Actual Tech. And as always, it isn't just fantastic content you'll be getting today. Three of you will also wind up a little richer as we are handing out three $300 Amazon gift cards at the conclusion of the event today. So stick around for that. You do have to be present for the entire event to be eligible, as Jess mentioned before. And with that, folks, why don't we get this sucker going? The great Scott Becker is going to be joining us now. Scott is a veteran moderator here and also a longtime friend. I'd hate to say how long because it ages us both, although it ages me much more than Scott. Now, Scott is going to be walking through the AI spring and storage. That is his topic, kind of relevant. So, Scott, we are ready and waiting. So take it away.
Thanks, Keith. I'm excited to have the opportunity to talk about AI and storage for the enterprise. What I'd like to do is step back from the storage question at first and just try to break down what the enterprise is doing with AI right now. Then we'll come back and layer storage into the conversation. So when we're talking about AI now, we're really talking about generative AI. There are a lot of different kinds of AI. It's fairly mature with different algorithms and R and machine learning, all powering a lot of software, including combing through all the security signals, purpose-built tools for making sense of large volumes of business data in data analytics, even storage devices being developed with AI to make the data storage process more efficient. But it seems like right now, 9 out of 10 conversations about AI, and that's a non-scientific, sampling there, are inspired by generative AI or what people are seeing with generative AI. Public-facing projects like ChatGPT and DALL-E 2 have just captured the public imagination, and they're driving massive investment from VCs and from Wall Street. So because of that, I'm going to stick to generative AI in this talk. And what I'd like to dive into is what enterprises can actually do with generative AI. So the jury is still out, but two main approaches are emerging. So in certain industries, enterprises are going to want to build their own generative AI solutions just from scratch. And this represents a huge investment, and it's appropriate in those cases where the business opportunity is supersized, where it's a case of racing with your competitors to play for all the marbles. These are business empire building opportunities. So this chart here represents an educated guess from Gartner last year about the vertical industries where these opportunities might exist. So for example, let's look at that first column, which is the automotive and vehicle manufacturing industry. So for that industry, generative AI opportunities might arise in material science and generative design for parts. A couple of columns over, you can see the energy and utilities industry has opportunities in material science. And in the last column, the pharmaceutical industry could benefit from generative AI in drug design. Now, outside of those industry-specific opportunities, the big use cases for the enterprise tend to be horizontal, or at least that's the way people see it right now. So in other words, they're the types of things that any company might be interested in doing for sort of a more fractional improvement in competitiveness. So here are some of the use cases from Forrester of practical ways that the different companies might use generative AI. So it could be improving auditing efficiency by answering auditors' questions quickly and without them having to hunt down the relevant resources. It could be employee self-service. Another clear opportunity is say help for technicians, that they can refer to on for field manuals for their field staff. And there's also huge opportunities to improve customer communications. Forrester's also calling out transcribing customer service calls and improving document clarity is the kind of things that almost any company can get an advantage out of AI out of generative AI specifically. So let's move on to large language models. You might have heard this term used interchangeably with generative AI, but it's subtly different. So generative AI is the superset, and large language models is sort of the major category within generative AI. So LLMs mostly create text outputs. They used to be only able to accept text inputs as well. Now they can accept other inputs. But the oversimplified definition is sort of text in, text out, it's an LLM. So when you think about it, LLMs are a great first step for a lot of enterprises because enterprises already have tons of records and data in the form of text that they can use to train or fine tune a model. So what are the approaches, for the enterprise with LLMs? So this is a developing industry, but we're seeing four general approaches take shape. And the first is just using a third-party LLM. So an example of a third-party LLM would, of course, be ChatGPT, and the use case might be, say, your marketing department using ChatGPT to help create first drafts of marketing copy. Simple, The second approach uses the same third-party LLM, but it involves something called retrieval augmented generation, or RAG. And that's when you ground the model with data that you already have in-house, and your in-house data improves the context relevance and reduces hallucinations. And of course, hallucinations are when the LLM just sort of makes up answers, out of whole cloth, or makes spurious references, to back up something. But so you want to avoid hallucinations, and RAG is a way to do that. Similar is fine-tuned LLMs, which are created and trained by a third party, but that you fine-tune with your organization's data. And finally, our in-house LLMs. And these are LLMs that might be developed and trained within the enterprise itself. It's going to use your data, your own teams. Oftentimes, you'll start with an open source LLM to create an in-house LLM. So now let's circle back around to storage and how much of a storage investment each approach is going to represent. So third-party LLMs, again, in our example, that would say the marketing department using ChatGPT, low to none on storage requirements, because it's basically they might grab something out of the ChatGPT interface, store it in a Word document, put it on their local drive or in your file server or in the cloud. Really not an order of magnitude difference from what they're storing already. So easy example there. Now, third party with RAG, again, that's the retrieval augmented generation. there you're starting to look at some storage infrastructure, that you're going to need to help sort of ground the data. So that's sort of a medium investment. Then the fine-tuned LLM is a high investment in your storage infrastructure. And then if you're doing the in-house LLM, pulling an open source model off GitHub and starting to build from there, that's a very high investment. You're sort of all in there. So specifically, those are sort of the relative, storage amounts, but how much actual storage do you need? So of course your mileage is going to vary, as with all things, but just for fun, I thought I'd ask one of the foremost experts in the world on this topic. So I put the question to ChatGPT itself. So here's what I plugged into the ChatGPT prompt. How much storage does it take to train a large language model? So rather than read out the response myself, we'll have one of ChatGPT's AI buddies do it. So here's ChatGPT's answer read out by the 11 Labs text-to-speech synthesizer.
As of my last update in January 2022, training a state-of-the-art large language model like GPT-3 typically required hundreds of gigabytes to multiple terabytes of storage space. For instance, OpenAI's GPT-3 model has 175 billion parameters, and storing the model, checkpoints alone, requires several hundred gigabytes.
Okay, so a couple of points to note there. So you heard the reference to GPT-3. That was an early version of GPT. This is smaller than GPT 3.5, which powered the first public release of ChatGPT, and smaller than the current version, which is GPT-4. So obviously that number is smaller than the version that's out there now, that storage number. But demands on storage can also include additional terabytes of training data, saving of checkpoints during the training process, and storage of additional metadata. So that's a very rough idea of potential storage sizes. So what else? So here's a brief overview of some of the other factors that might drive how much storage you need and what kind. So you've got dataset size, model size, your training infrastructure, data pre-processing, checkpoints, logging, hyperparameter search, version control, and then how much collaboration is required for the number of teams that you've got working on your project. A lot of storage technologies can support the effort, and those range from SSDs and HDDs to NAS, object storage in the public cloud, distributed file systems, in-memory databases, and hybrid storage solutions. So I know some of you are really far along on your journey of evaluating generative AI. For those of you who haven't gone as far, I hope this has made some of the steps a little bit more concrete and given you a framework to think about how storage would fit with things you might actually be able to do with generative AI. So enjoy the rest of the session, hearing about specifics of storage solutions. And Keith, thanks for the time. Back to you.
Hey, thanks so much, Scott. What a great overview of this field. Put a poll question up for everyone to take a look at. Let us know how things are coming along with your efforts to add new or update existing IT solutions at your company. This kind of data is very important to us, so please let us know. One of the things I thought was most interesting, actually, about Scott's presentation was how realistic the AI voice sounded. It didn't sound like an AI voice that I would have recognized a year ago. Now, there are certain clues and signals that you can tell that it may not have been a real person, but if you weren't listening for it, you may not have been able to tell. And to me, that's, one of those ways, one of those signposts in how things have improved and how far we have come in this time with that. So keep voting in this poll for another couple of seconds here. We appreciate that. We're seeing a lot of responses, pretty evenly divided right now. Looks like you're about split between things that are happening right now, a year away, 2 years away, or some of you just are not sure. So we really always appreciate that feedback on how you are doing with your current undertakings in your in your department. So with that, folks, we are going to move along and get to the main event. And for that, we have got an awesome presentation coming up from Pure Storage here today. And presenting for Pure Storage are Calvin, Melody, and Miroslav. Now, they're going to introduce themselves more fully when they come on. They are ready to go right now, and Calvin is taking the mic. Calvin, you have the floor. Take it away, sir.
Thank you so much, Keith. Hi, I'm Calvin Nee, Senior Solutions Manager here for AI at Pure Storage, and I'm joined by my colleagues, Melody.
Thanks, Calvin. Hi, I'm Melody Zacharias, the Technical Evangelist for AI Analytics at Pure Storage.
And also we have with us Miroslav.
Hey there, I'm Miroslav Klavansky. I'm the Global Practice Lead for AI and Analytics at Pure. Today, we'd like to talk to you about the importance of storage for your AI workloads.
Yeah, so let's dive right in. From talking to customers and prospects, all the stuff out there that you read about, including from the analysts, we hear that there are a lot of inefficiencies in the AI infrastructure stack that are impacting businesses. AI engineers, data scientists, and the end users who are relying on new AI technology. There's a couple of top areas impacted by poor infrastructure. So the ones that we're going to talk about today, first one is performance bottlenecks, right? If there's performance bottlenecks throughout your data pipeline, your AI pipeline, it just means that every step could be a little bit longer than you want it to be, and that really impacts the delays and the turnaround times, the iterations. When you have slow performance or performance bottleneck, there's also frustrated users and developers. Like these people are waiting and waiting on new models, development of models, iteration, results, the accuracy of results. The next area is around reliability and uptime, uncertain growth, having something that you're relying on as a production AI system. You cannot wait for it to hurry up or be down, or if you're going to grow your AI data, how can you make sure that infrastructure is really rock solid? And then the last area is around cost and energy. And we're going to talk about all of these things here. I know it's a broad set of topics, but all of them have very specific effects on different parts of the AI pipeline and ultimately on the effective application of AI. We're talking about why storage is so important to AI and how we can help customers accelerate their initiatives with Pure Storage. Miroslav and Melody, help us understand these more fully. Let's start first with performance bottlenecks. There are many places that performance can be bottlenecked, but storage is kind of a big one. And the issue is twofold, right? There's storage that struggles to deliver predictable as well as consistent performance. So how does that affect different parts of the AI data pipeline?
Well, that's a great question, Calvin. Um, Storage performance is important from those multiple different angles that you mentioned, and it touches different stages of the AI workflow. So, for example, the data loading to get the data into the system, transforming that data, doing the feature engineering, all of these are activities that touch the underlying storage. And for the large data sets that often show up in AI environments, that can become critical. Once the data is in the system, data scientists spend a bunch of time exploring that data interactively, crafting their queries, developing the models. And that interactive access to the data, especially when you have a team of multiple data scientists, can also cause certain load and stress on the storage system that, a, a storage system that can't keep up slows down productivity, makes your data scientists less productive. Once those models are built, we move toward model training, and training that model can generate a lot of IO, not only in terms of pulling the data sets into the GPUs and doing the model training, but also in terms of checkpointing the model, being able to dump the GPU state to persistent storage so that you can cleanly restart if something goes wrong. After that, the area where we focus a lot is collecting input and output during inference. So let's say you have that model, it's all working the way you want, and now you've deployed it to production. It's doing what you need for your environment, but you want to make sure that you understand how well it's performing, whether the input data is drifting over time. So that means you need to collect the input data and also collect the output data of that inference model. Like maybe you want to collect all of it, or maybe you just want to collect the exceptions. But either way, storage can play an important part during that phase of the MLOps workflow as well. And then, of course, this is all happening on a large shared infrastructure, and that infrastructure can be complex. So you need to enable logging and monitoring and alerting on that infrastructure so that if something goes wrong, you can jump in and fix it as quickly as possible. That's part of having production AI and what it takes. So in that environment, when you have unpredictable performance, that means that you can't necessarily know what to expect. And you don't know how to size, how to grow your infrastructure for your future needs. And inconsistent performance can impact all of those different things. When performance keeps going up and down, it becomes problematic. A lot of traditional storage systems are very sensitive to different workload characteristics and different mixes of workloads, and that can result in this unpredictable and inconsistent performance. That's something that Pure Storage, especially with our FlashBlade platform, has focused on remediating so that our performance is predictable and consistent over time, over the entire MLOps workflow. As you mentioned a little bit earlier, users and infrastructure operators get very frustrated when they're encountering unpredictable and inconsistent performance because these are not, easy to diagnose errors. It's not like there's one thing that you can root cause and troubleshoot. It's often because of changes in the input flow, in the data set, and it makes developers' jobs much harder when you have an infrastructure that with those characteristics, and those, with the job being harder, it takes longer. And in addition to all of that, it can leave valuable GPUs sitting idle while, the infrastructure gets fixed, or, just while performance, fluctuates up and down. So that's my take on this issue.
Well, that's a good point, Miroslav. The underutilization of those GPUs, I mean, that really leads directly to some high costs, would it not?
Well, it does. And the way that I like to look at it is, in terms of underutilization of the investment that our customers make in GPUs. A lot of people out there are trying to get their hands on the cutting edge GPU technology. Those GPUs are pretty pricey. Sometimes it takes a while to even get one or reserve one in the cloud. So when you have these inconsistent and unpredictable performance characteristics, it reduces the effective value of your spend on the whole infrastructure and also those GPUs. If you've spent millions of dollars on GPUs, even 10% underutilization can translate into huge inefficiencies. And this stretches out the ROI associated with your infrastructure spend, and the entire AI project can be delayed because the performance is not what you expect it to be. So, that delay turns into time to market. It turns into how quickly you can realize your vision of what AI brings to the table, brings to your customers. So all of that is a significant issue. How helpful would it be to be able to build those models in days instead of weeks or months? That's part of what we can help our customers get.
Yeah, because we certainly don't want them sitting idle for any period of time.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. So, bottom line, the AI project is delayed. GPUs are underutilized. Data scientists are sitting around. They're not inexpensive either. Okay, so another area of cost is the huge amount of data, petabytes of training data that's needed and retained for future access. So the more data that you have, and it may or may not be petabytes, but the more data you have, the longer you retain it, that storage cost is a major consideration. So what's the solution to that?
Yeah, we've been talking about that for years. The amount of data is growing exponentially. There's been an issue with data and the data growth for a long time. I think the latest number that I heard was 118 zettabytes by the end of 2026. Sometimes I can't even wrap my brain around how much data that actually is. It's overwhelming. But we need that amount of data. The more data we have, the more accurate our models are in the end, because it's all about the learning. And it's not about just having that data, but having fast, reliable access to it. So we need to have that data to be able to use it, because if it's just sitting there in storage or on a disk that you can't get access to, it's really of no use to you. Or if it's in a situation where that data is not really usable because you haven't put it in a state where it's not clean, or you haven't ETL'd it or ELT'd it to a state that it can be actually used, then it's still not of any use. So you need to clean it, you have to manage it, you have to move it. So even moving that data to a place that has to be available so it's usable, all of these things are really important. So you have to move it to a data lake or a data warehouse. You have to get it off of that spinning disk. So all of these things are really important, moving it along the pipeline so you can get it to where you need it. And what happens is, because that volume is so high, and the data services that people are using right now, if they're not on Pure, are so cumbersome that people are moving and using as little data as possible. And that's really hindering what they can actually get done. It's very sad. It's wrecking their agility, it's reducing their productivity, and it takes down their ideation. It removes their ability to analyze, it reduces what they can use in analytics, and it really hinders their whole AI project. It's really killing their ideas. It's reducing their chances to have a real lead in the AI evolution that we're coming into. So it really makes me sad. So they really want to have the opportunity to have ideas that can have a chance to be tested. They need to use all of that data, really. So one of the latest things that Pure has produced recently is our E-Suite, which allows you to actually use a lot of that data, and move it and use it in a way that it can be of most benefit to you. And our customers are finding that historical data being used for training is just as easy as using any other data, and just as inexpensive. It's just as cheap as using it on spinning disk.
But with a lot more value.
Absolutely. So much value in all of that. It's fantastic. It's, you're spending days instead of spending days retrieving data from disk, you've got it at the tip of your fingers. Yeah. It's I don't know, it's as exciting as chocolate for the first time.
Well, I don't know. I mean, chocolate is awesome, so I'm not sure if I can go
well,
that
and
far.
so is data. But, I mean, it just makes me excited. Well, I mean, the freedom.
True. And Another group of people that are excited are the accountants, because when
Right.
you move from all of those spinning disks to flash, you're reducing your power spend, you're reducing your cooling spend, you have to rent fewer racks to hold all of
Yeah,
that storage, given our density. So I believe we've seen something like a 40% reduction in
that's right.
TCO when someone migrates from their spinning disks to keeping their archives and repositories on our E family of arrays.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the correct number. Um, and it's all of those cost savings. It's the power savings, right? So you have more power for your GPUs as well. Okay, so we can deal with all of that data now cost effectively. But AI changes dramatically day by day almost, right? And so the infrastructure teams, the data scientists, and the AI teams, they're really worried about keeping up with this pace of change. What you have today might not be sufficient for what you're doing tomorrow. So if your infrastructure needs to scale quickly, how does that work, right? Some customers are feeling forced into buying large quantities of storage that they don't necessarily need right now, just so next year or even 6 months from now they're ready. But obviously that won't make the accountants happy, will it? So Miroslav, tell us a little bit about how that can be solved.
Well, it is definitely a concern. I think a lot of organizations are really excited about AI. They're allocating budget. They're looking to, go down that path or expand their current investments, but they're worried about the future because it is such a new technology that we don't really know exactly where it'll go in the future. And having a solution that's future proof is very valuable. And it's also reassuring to people that need to make $1 million investments on behalf of their organizations. Um, at Pure, those problems are mostly solved. Like, we've been operating under this evergreen philosophy since our founding. That's been one of the core ideals of our founders and part of our engineering philosophy from day one. So the idea is our customers get a subscription to innovation with fresh hardware and software on a regular basis. We've proven over our 15-year history that we can upgrade non-disruptively, even in the middle of mission critical operations. And we can also scale non-disruptively. So our customers can feel comfortable starting in the terabytes of capacity and then scaling to tens of petabytes of capacity non-disruptively. And that scaling can happen in small increments of both capacity and performance. We don't lock our customers into having to grow in terms of half a petabyte at a time. And it's not just marketing. We have customers that have been upgrading their mission critical systems in the middle of standard operations every day. I remember hearing one of our airline customers that had systems tied into airplanes in the air, and they were able to upgrade those systems while the planes are flying without having to schedule specific downtime to make it happen. Um,
I'd call that mission critical, yeah.
yeah. I mean, I certainly would want to be comfortable when I'm on an airplane, which I guess I will be in a few more days, um, to know that everything is moving smoothly and reliably. Um, the one other thing I'll throw in there is our customers get a true OpEx consumption model, just like the cloud, but on-prem and under their full control. This is our Evergreen One as a service program. So it's a technology philosophy, not just a business or sales program. But what it means is customers that are either repatriating from the cloud because they've seen, the huge expenses that storage in the cloud can incur, and they want to get that expense more predictable. It could be for customers that really love that OpEx model in the cloud, but have data that they're just not comfortable putting in the cloud, or there's just too much regulatory headache associated with doing that. So Evergreen One, our OpEx consumption model, adds additional degrees of freedom to what customers can choose for their AI infrastructure.
Yeah, and that, like you said, it's not just a business or a sales program. You have to build that into your technology, and that's that's been a core to what Pure has done since we we came out. All right, so we know that we can grow as we need to be future proof. Let's talk about some of these efficiencies. Ultimately, what's going to support AI infrastructure teams and dev teams is offering true operational efficiencies and automation. If we can find ways to automate, shortcut, provide recipes to get past the lack of user-friendly, architectures or MLOps frameworks, Melody, what are some of the ways to tackle this?
Well, Pure has always been famous for our simplicity of operation and efficiencies. And I don't know, maybe in a past life, our founder was a DBA, because DBAs are famous for saying that they like to automate everything because they want to be lazy. But I used to be a DBA in my previous life, and we basically like to, either automate it or have it as simple as possible. And all the instructions to install our equipment can fit on a small little business card. And if everything works together, it's going to make your life easy. And we, as professionals in the industry, want to make our customers' lives easier, because that makes everybody's life easier. And we've been there, we've been in your shoes, and we know what it feels like. So we want to make your job easier. And one of the ways that we do that is ensure that you have validated stack architectures so that you can follow along and install it. Simple instructions written in real words, not big fancy words, not go here to find this, go there to find that, not things that are going to be outdated at crazy times, things that are going to reduce your risk and accelerate your time to getting things actually installed. And these are going to be validated. We have a number that are validated designs with us and Cisco, us and NVIDIA. The stacks that you're used to working with. And that's not just us and hardware, but it's us and software, because we're not just a hardware company. We are a data services company, because hardware isn't anything without the data services that go along with it, because we're all about data. Data is our lives and what we do. And that goes for everybody who touches data, because we want to drive these operational efficiencies across our entire data pipelines and ensure that you're getting consistent management with simple deployments to make your support experience really easy. We started that with our Purity operating system, and we want to expand that with everything that we do so that your experience is always going to be like that. We have our Purity One with our built-in AI ops to allow you to have frictionless storage operations. And that goes across our entire fleet, no matter what you're using within Pure Storage. And this takes you then onto our containerized stateful workloads, which gives you the opportunity to try out our Portworx if you haven't already. It works really nicely with all of our AI systems. If you want to do stateful workloads with your applications, it's a great way to tie in with AI and some of your applications. It works very nicely together. We've got protocols for all stages of the AI process. And it has automatic provisioning for all of your storage resources, and they can be based on SLAs. This container orchestration has volume placement, authentication, and data distribution. And I know you know a little bit more about this, don't you, Miroslav? Can you add to that?
Sure. Like, one of the things that we see all over the place, and it's been this way for a while now, is AI and even modern analytics are primarily containerized. So the code that runs to do the processing is typically running in a container. And sometimes those containers are running on top of bare metal. But often they're orchestrated by Kubernetes. So Kubernetes has become more or less the de facto scheduling and orchestration framework for containers, and that's where Portworx plays. So Pure acquired Portworx probably like 3 years ago at this point. And even before we acquired Portworx, they were the number one, kind of measurably, undisputedly, the number one way of building persistent storage in a Kubernetes environment. And they've only continued to evolve, improve. So, as you mentioned, when you're trying to build out this MLOps pipeline and you're deploying multiple applications to help you with that entire flow, it's easy to add statefulness, to add persistence to those applications with Portworx. That data can exist on pure hardware, but it can also exist on the direct attached storage that's part of the cluster nodes. So Portworx
Miroslav,
makes that easy. Mhm.
sorry to cut you off. We're
No,
running out of time.
okay. This is exciting stuff. I
We
just
have a
can't say
lot of
that's all.
questions coming in. I'm gonna go, AI offers a ton of potential for enterprises, and I'm so glad that we got to talk about how Pure can help customers deal with some of these top infrastructure problems. Let's get to these questions. Keith?
I agree. Absolutely, Kevin. Let's get to some of these questions. So we are now joined by Calvin and Melody and Miroslav. All three of our presenters are here to answer your questions. We've got some great ones coming in. And while we look these over, I'm just going to put up the poll question here. We appreciate your answers on what additional information you'd like to see from Pure Storage. Please fill out that poll question as we go through these. In addition, everyone, this is a great time to check out the handout section and click on the link from Pure Storage. That is it's to a report. The link goes to a report from the Enterprise Strategy Group, and it's called Build a Future-Proof AI Platform. So check out that resource now and keep voting while we get to those questions. So we have got a number of them coming in, and I'm going to throw this open to whoever wants to take these. First one question is from Babu. He says, what are the key ways in which storage infrastructure impacts the success of AI initiatives? And how does it influence factors such as data accessibility, processing speed, and scalability? Who would like to take that one?
Miroslav, would you like to take that one?
About scalability and organizational challenges? Sure.
Exactly.
Let's talk a little bit about that. So from the storage perspective, there are a number of challenges that come up. One is that many of the applications in this space are built to use, direct attached storage. It might be, the traditional older Hadoop style model where data is sharded across multiple different direct attached storage disks. And that has a number of operational challenges with it. It has challenges around growth. It has challenges around error recovery. It has challenges around efficiency and costs. So separating storage and compute and being able to scale your compute resources separate from those storage resources gives you a level of that agility and efficiency that addresses the challenges. The other one is silos. Like when that storage is tied to individual applications, each application in the data pipeline ends up with its own silo of data, and that has a lot of efficiency impact. Often the utilization levels of each one of those silos is really low, and there's a lot of work to move data between the silos as the pipeline moves forward. So being able to consolidate all of those silos together, kind of break down those silo boundaries so that you can have efficient sharing of that data is also an important pattern that we're seeing. And lastly, One other place where efficiency comes in and challenges are addressed is more and more of the applications here tend to be containerized. Many of them are cloud or Kubernetes native, and being able to provide statefulness and persistent storage to containerized workloads running in Kubernetes clusters can be challenging. And that's one of the places where technology like Portworx, which is the best way of providing storage management, statefulness, persistence in a Kubernetes environment comes in.
Great.
So,
fantastically, yeah. Good. Fantastically comprehensive answer on that, Miroslav. Okay, next up, Mason would like to know, will an increase in volume increase the cost?
Yeah, hey, this is Calvin. It's a great question. Let me tackle that one. So I assume the volume you're talking about is with AI initiatives, there is a lot more data that's available that you're doing training on and all of these different sources of data. Of course, when you have to address all of that, it can become much more costly, as Miroslav said earlier. And all of your hot or fresh data is really, it requires a high performance storage in order to make sure that your GPUs are fully fed and active. But when you have lots of historical data, content repository data, archive data, that needs to be accessible too. And maybe not as fast as the fresh data, but definitely still accessible where you're not reaching out into a slow silo of archive storage. And so with Pure Storage, we're able to do exactly that, provide high performance all flash for both sets of both active and fresh, as well as repository and archive data. And we do that at a very cost efficient way for that repository and archive data, while still providing consistent management and performance for all of your AI workloads. That can lower total cost by 50% or more, in addition to all the power savings, space savings, and everything else that we're able to offer as well.
Great. So ultimately, maybe even more than 50% when you add up all of the costs that are involved. Okay, I think we have time for one more here. And I don't know if, Melody, you want to take this or not, but Paul wants to know, is there a set of best practices you'd recommend for ensuring AI implementations are in alignment with organizational goals and storage and cloud management, not just tacking it on?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a number of best practices that you can find, but what we would recommend is future proofing. So what that generally means is keeping in mind what your organization's goals are for the future. And the thing with AI is it's changing so quickly. You want to keep your corporate goals in mind, but also realizing that it's hard to predict the future of AI because it is changing so fast. So you want to keep your options open because we're not quite sure what's going to happen entirely. And one of the great things about our Pure Storage stack is I like to kind of think of it as Lego, that we replace the parts. We don't ever have to do a full stack upgrade again. We've got customers that have been on our storage stack for over 12, maybe almost 14 years. And essentially you just replace the parts because you never have to replace the whole stack. It's called an evergreen upgrade, and you're basically ready for the future when you go to Pure Storage.
Okay, great. That kind of modularity, Melody, is just so important for doing exactly what you're saying in terms of future proofing it. Thank you for that. Well, folks, we have had some great Q&A today, and I have one final question, and I am going to pose this to Calvin right now. Calvin, I'm sure you've piqued a lot of interest here. We can tell that from the questions. So if somebody wants to take the next step with Pure Storage right after this event today, what do you recommend they do?
Oh, that's a good one. That's a softball. Reach out to Pure Storage or one of our Pure Storage partners. You can also, of course, learn more on purestorage.com. We have an AI solution page where you can learn more about AI-ready solutions, how we help to accelerate AI, and just simplify your data pipeline and make things much more efficient for you. So just a couple of tips on how you can get started now.
Outstanding. Outstanding. Well, folks, this has been such a fun discussion today. I love the presentation, so informative. I want to thank all of you for your time and your insights in this. It was a pleasure to have you on. Calvin and Melody and Miroslav, thank you very much for being here.
Of course, we're happy to be.
Okay. And with that, folks, we are getting close to being wrapped for the day. I'm going to leave this poll question up just for another second or two. So please vote in that now. Your last chance to do that before we do our next important thing here today on this event, before we get you out of here. And that is to give away some $300 gift cards. We've got 3 Amazon gift cards ready to go, and we have picked 3 winners, one for each of those. And the winners of the $300 gift cards for this session today are Scott Marson from Pennsylvania, Tim Fitzgerald from Maryland, my neck of the woods, and Pete Trudeau from Massachusetts. I saw Pete log on earlier today. So congratulations to all 3 of our winners. We will be in touch ASAP to get you your cards. So sit tight. All right. So, were you watching the event today thinking this is the kind of thing that would be fun for me, for my company to put on, to tell folks about your platform, your solution, your product? If so, we'd love to hear from you to help you determine which of our hundreds of events, and I do mean that literally, each year would be a good fit for you, or alternatively, we can build a custom event just for you. So contact us at connect@actualtechmedia.com and let's talk about it, as Joan Rivers used to say. And so, up next, now, if you've got some time tomorrow, here's another event that really should be on your radar. It's about monitoring and optimizing a hybrid cloud environment. And I'd say that describes most of us, wouldn't you? Now, this event starts at noon Eastern, which is, of course, 9 a.m. Pacific time. If that webinar interests you, sign up right after this event. And with that, folks, on behalf of the Actual Tech Media team, I want to thank Pure Storage for a terrific presentation, for the outstanding Q&A. I learned a ton about this topic, and I hope you did too. It's something that is only going to grow in importance from here on out. So you got to get a handle on it, and this is the kind of thing that gives us some direction and is going to provide you with some real insights into what you might want to be thinking about for your next step, moving deeper into AI as part of your overall solutions. And I want to thank everyone who is on right now for attending this EcoCast. As you know, as you've heard me before, if you've been on any of our events, I love being here with you. It's so much fun to spend time talking to you and hanging out with you. So thanks for being here, for your great questions. And that is a wrap for me today, folks, and a wrap for you too. That concludes the event. Have a great rest of your day, everyone.